We are going live. Okay. The meeting's live.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the Economic Revitalization Committee meeting of Friday, September 25th, 2020. It is, and you'll pardon us for being late, 11:08 a.m. Here on our virtual platform. And we have two items on the agenda today, but only one real action item. That is a review of a parcel from on Scott Street with Habitat for Humanity. Joe, do you want to take this?
Yes. Okay, if you want me to start, what you have before you is a 3-lot subdivision at Memorial Homes land development that was done many years ago. It's between Memorial Avenue, Scott Street, and Oliver Street. What the request is that the Greater Lycoming Habitat for Humanity wishes to purchase 3 lots, as you see on the drawing, to construct 3 single-family 2-story dwellings on. Okay. Again, this was started with Stephanie many years ago, and John Grado actually, when this first thing occurred. We have Memorial Homes that was constructed. There was several large lots, one on the other side of Oliver, and this lot that were to be used for single-family dwellings. Habitat wishes to purchase these 3 lots, and I believe, if I'm correct, it's $1 per lot. They wish to purchase it from the city or the redevelopment authority, and it does meet all the zoning requirements, setback requirements, off-street parking requirements, and height requirements on the zoning ordinance. If this were to go through and be approved, then I would sign off on the construction drawings, making sure it's built the proper way. And at this point, I'd be more than happy to turn it over to the chair, and if I have any questions that I can answer, I'll do my best.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Just a couple of upfront questions. What does the actual process look like in terms of this land being deeded over to Habitat? Is that something the council needs to approve?
Well, if I'm correct, what's going to occur here, this is an RU district, so it has to go before council for final approval, okay, for anything that's done up here, because in the RU district, council has the final approval on such a thing as this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is in terms of the transfer of the, like how many paperwork items are involved? First off, are these all double houses, duplex?
No, these are all single family dwellings, 2 stories.
Okay. Because they look, the lots are larger than I would have figured then, given the lot size of the last Habitat, single family Habitat project.
Right.
Is that just with an eye toward giving a little bit more acreage to each parcel, or is there a reason why these lots are larger than the other single family lot?
The only thing I can think of is just to make it for a larger lot, to make it more likable for the individuals purchasing them. A little bit more ground. That's the only thing I can think of.
Got it. Does Tom have anything to say about that, since presumably he's the one who? Mr. Slotchick?
Yeah, Tom here. Part of the land, because we can't we need off-street parking, so we need a little bit more lot to have a driveway with the necessary turnaround that's required.
Okay, understood. So it looks like if Habitat were at some point to move forward with developing this entire parcel, we'd be getting maybe 6, possibly 7 homes in the parcel. Is that correct?
I would say if they maintain the same size lots, you're probably going to get at least 3 more, possibly 4, but I would say definitely 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm at home here. But yeah, if the on-street parking requirement holds for all of them, then it would seem as though they would need larger lots for each one.
Right.
Okay, got it. And so Joe, the whole the city currently owns this land, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so we're fine to sell it for $1. I'm assuming that agreement would probably need to come before council for approval.
Yes, you would be.
Okay.
That would be correct.
All right. And Mr. Slunchik, Habitat's preference is still in the long run to try to develop this entire parcel, or are we thinking that the 3 homes?
The 3 homes will take us 3 years. So
Okay.
hard to predict, but we'd like to keep those options available if possible.
Got it. So this is basically one of these homes will be built in 2021, one in 2022, one in 2023,
Correct.
unless I assume fundraising and labor comes particularly easily for these projects. Right. But
yeah.
most of Habitat, it's Habitat's build time is based on your capacity, right?
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. And is everything in place for the 2021 build? If this,
It is pretty much in place, yes. We are, because of COVID, we got behind in our current build, which is on Diamond Street, but we should be fine. Once we get the property to us, and then we have to get a subdivision plan, so we should be okay.
Yeah.
Sometime we'll start in 2021.
okay. Got it. Well, that's certainly exciting, for all of us. What was I gonna say? So, Dave, do you have any other questions? Do you have any questions?
Just the one. As it stands now, this is all one parcel, correct? So how would the subdivision work? Would that have to come before us as well?
Yes,
Okay.
what you're going to end up having to do is they're going to submit a subdivision land development drawing to the city of Williamsport. It'll go in front of the planning commission. The planning commission will recommend either approval or not approval to council. And at that time, council will approve the subdivision, then along with any other items such as, like Ms. Mealy was talking a little bit earlier about the dollar payout or whatever, that would be $1 for the lot. That would also come for you at the same time. But you would see it under land development plan, and because it is in an RU residential district, that's the district that council really has authority in allowing people to build it a little bigger, a little taller, and so forth, or allowing certain things into that development. So yes, you'll see all this again when Tim comes through with his land development subdivision.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Girardi.
So the subdivision will be the first item that we see. Got it. And are we transferring each of these lots separately? Or are we transferring an aggregate?
I would assume each one would be a separate transfer because they'll each have a separate deed to them.
Okay.
That's
So I
just my opinion, but that's what I'm thinking.
So part of my question is, are we moving forward with just the first transfer here in the next couple of months, or are we going to move forward with transferring all three? What's
I'm going to go out on a limb. Tim probably answers better than me. I believe he's going to want to do all three so they own those properties. I could be wrong.
That was kind of what Mr. Solanchik?
Yes, we hope to get all three.
Okay, simultaneously. Understood.
Yeah.
So who's the point person on this thing? Gary? Joe?
Yes, Gary will be the point man until we come up with a replacement for Stephanie.
Okay, got it. So Gary's the one who's going to put together the agreements related to the transfer of the property, and also the guy who's going to, well, I mean, clearly the subdivision and everything would come through Gary anyway.
The subdivision land development definitely will come through Gary. I'm going to speak for Gary at this point and say that, yeah, he'll probably be handling the transfer with the ordinance with the attorneys. So that's,
Got it.
I mean, if anybody's going to have to do it, it'd be Gary because he's the only one really involved with this right now at this point.
Understood. And when you say we have to approve anything happening in an RU district, is that like, do we have to do basically a certificate of appropriateness related to it as well?
No. I would say this much. You do have control over looks and so forth as you would in the central business district, from my understanding of the RU district.
Okay, but do we have standards within the RU district?
No, I do not believe so. Again, you're talking zoning, Ms. Mealy, and that's more Gary's. I'm going off of what I can remember. Okay, but I do not believe you have like design standards like you do at central business district.
Okay.
But I can get back to you on that. If you want.
If you could look into that for me, I'm just curious. I mean, absent some sort of documentation as to what meets standards and what doesn't, we don't have any basis for approval or denial in any. I mean, that's not a question relating to Habitat. We all know what Habitat houses look like. Mr. Slancher, get nervous that we're going to somehow deep six your next three parcels after allowing two of them. But if we have some sort of opportunity in RU districts to say yes or no to to design, then there must be standards in place. And if there aren't standards in place and we need them, then we should be working on that, obviously. Yeah.
And again,
So-
I'll find that out for you. I believe there aren't standards like you would say, like you're used to down in the historic district or in the
Got it.
downtown central business district.
Okay. Understood. But yeah, I mean, so just if, are you looking for a vote from the Economic Revitalization Committee today to move forward with the 3 habitat parcels?
Yeah, we're looking for a recommendation from this board to
Got it.
council.
Okay, I mean, we so far supported all the steps in the process here with Habitat, and it seems to be the most desirable option available to us for developing that land there behind Memorial Home. So we appreciate your continued interest, Mr. Solanchik, and Habitat as a whole. Dave, is there anything else that you wanted to say about this project?
Nothing on my end. You know, it's good to see us going along though.
Yeah, it's good. Well, so much stuff has gotten bogged down this year with COVID. It's good to see that this is still in motion. All right, then, Dave, I think I'd take a motion on this item to forward it to the full body of council
So move.
with a positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation.
Okay, I'll second that motion then. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Then, I think we can move on to the next step there, Joe, the subdivision land development and the transfer of the land. Are those items all going to come before ERC, or is the preference to take those through finance or something like that in a lead up to a meeting? Planning commission, obviously. I mean, I know we won't see the subdivision land development until council, but the
Right.
transfer.
I believe being it's finance, and I believe it's I think finance would have to approve it.
Right.
Typically, all money transactions is approved or a recommendation by finance to council. So
Good.
again, I'm going to defer to Gary, and I'd be more than happy to have Gary email you and Mr. Banks all the information you're
Sure.
asking for. On
Well,
Monday.
I'm just trying to figure out what our timeline is for getting all that stuff taken care of so that Habitat can be assured of owning the land as soon as possible.
Right.
So, and I'm trying to figure out which committee I should then be looking for it coming into. So,
Right. I think it'd be your finance committee that you'd want to do. And I would imagine that we have a standard agreement written up that we would just modify and bring it in front of council. So I don't think it'd be that hard to do within a couple of weeks.
okay, sounds good. Then we'll look for it then, maybe 2 weeks out here on the next council. All right, sounds good. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Solanchik and Joe.
Yeah.
We have one remaining item on our agenda today, which is any related items. And I was hoping to take a minute, and Joe, you might actually be a good person to talk to us about this real quick for a second.
Okay.
Dave had come up with an idea that actually kind of resonated with me, but I don't know what our capabilities are in City Hall, and I don't think that we have this capability currently. We've talked about a number of different projects in the city over the years, everything from, ideally put a roundabout in down at Hepburn Street and Via Bella, which we all know would cost millions of dollars, but different projects, kind of wish list projects and/or things that would simply make the quality of life in a given neighborhood better. And Dave was thinking that perhaps the way to kind of summarize all of that information and make sure that it all stays in our minds would be to map it on a map of the city. I mean, obviously, most things that we contemplate doing in the city have a physical location, right? And so a map would be maybe the best way to capture all of these items that we've been talking about for years, and some of them fall off our plates, other new things kind of pile up there. Codes doesn't have any kind of mapping software that might help us do that, correct?
No, what we've done in the past, Ms. Mealy, was I know Gary has worked with the county on mapping. A lot of times when we have to do overlays of districts, Gary has laid out the overlays on our map, and we went through the county, and the county has produced us mapping for that.
Oh, great. And who did you work with at the county? Or
I got to be honest, that's Gary's call. I don't remember who Gary worked with there.
Got it.
But there is an individual that he worked with, and it deals with our geo system in county too, because we get all the aerial photography through the county. and we get updates for our geosystem county with the tax parcels. If I buy a parcel of ground 3 months later, it shows up on our computer that I actually own it, not the former owner. That all comes through the county.
There's an individual in the planning department that handles the GIS
Yep.
system for the county.
Okay, got it. Yeah, Chris, I mean, what do you think of an idea like that? It just seems to me like it would be nice to see improvements we've talked about citywide in one location, and like that might.
Absolutely. We as a city my belief is we need a GIS system in general to map all kinds of things. We at one point we still have GeoPlan, but we have a web-based version of it.
Right.
That has limited capabilities compared to the on-premise version that we had at one point that we could have all kinds of spattle layers on.
Got it.
So Chris, to that effect, if I sent you shape files, you'd be able to import them in GeoPlan?
I cannot do that. I'd have to have the consultants that from Gannett Fleming who own the actual GeoPlan system now do it.
Okay. There's quite a bit of work I was thinking about doing a lot of this myself, Joe. So just so you know, you're not throwing a bunch of stuff on other people's plates without thinking about the level of work that goes into these things. Right. But there's a decent amount of open source software out there, and there's a lot of open source data like the orthographic images that we could use. So this is something that Liz and I had talked about a number of days ago, and we go back and forth. We don't have the budget for a GIS person, but if some of this stuff can be done preliminarily to give people a visual idea of all these projects over the years that we would like to pursue that seem to fall by the wayside, it might be nice to have that available to us internally, and then hopefully someday externally to the public.
It would be I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, not just for these kind of things. There's numerous assets of the city, for lack of a better term, that we could have as layers that we really need to have and be able to share across all the departments in the city. I'm happy to have an offline conversation with you, Dave, about it. There's, like I said, there's some issues right now with GeoPlan that they're trying to work through, and we kind of need to see where that falls out. But then I can fill you in on that more later.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get together and talk about it.
Yeah. Maybe I wouldn't mind being involved in that too. If you guys want to try to set up a time that all three of us could make it, but maybe we could grab some coffee or something sometime.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I'd just like to sort of see what this shapes up as. I think it could be a really interesting, interactive, and kind of multi-layered approach to sort of sorting out what we have going on in the city and what we're hoping to do in the future. It could be a really useful tool. So anyway.
The water authority just undertook a project similar to this to map all of their systems, and we did have a meeting about that too.
Okay.
At some point, we would like to get to the point where we can share all of that, and they're certainly going to at some point potentially want the stormwater infrastructure. So,
right.
Yeah, it would be great to have a conversation about it.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's work on it. Okay, then I guess we've taken that about as far as we can, just as a general conversation. Dave, did you have any other points you wanted to make about that item?
I do not for the time being.
Okay, and are there any other related items that anyone on the call would like to introduce? Okay, then Janice loves it when we keep these meetings under half an hour. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I was going to say, Dave, that's going to have to come from you. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Have a great day, everybody else. I'll see you a couple of